Welcome to a very different type of video. We are going ahead and this is actually taking place after the Pop Culture Jungle because we are doing Nintendo Week right now, where as of the day this video is going live tonight about 10:30 or 10, 9:30, 10. We should be going live doing an unboxing of Nintendo Switch 2, but the day of the Pop Culture Jungle, some news came out about the Rivers of America and Walt Disney World. So we are being joined by the normal Pop Culture Jungle co-host Justin.
I invited you, apparently.
On that side, apparently, to talk about it, to look at the little bit of art we got, and the information that was released by Disney today. You ready for that?
Yep.
Are you still, before we get into it? So I know if I'm on battlegrounds and I have to defend myself over here. Are you still on the side that this is a good decision?
I mean, okay. I was always on the side that it could be good. Not that it's 100% good.
Do you agree? Let me try this a different side. Do you agree with the idea of putting a cars-based attraction in the middle of Frontierland?
No.
Okay. So where your standpoint is, if I'm understanding correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you think the idea of replacing the rivers, if it was something good and thought out, is a good idea.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not entirely on your side, but I get where you're coming from. And I respect where you're coming from. I personally still think the beauty of the river makes a lot of sense. I think we could keep the beauty of the river. I think we could keep the riverboats and such. I think what there needs to be is figured out either a different path route or whatnot, and make a direct bridge connection from the Haunted Mansion side to Tom Sawyer to Big Thunder, and make it that there's a more direct cut through. You can go that route.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. I think the beauty is still very important to the park. I do respect though where you're coming from. So we're gonna jump into this, and starting out over on Twitter, DSNY Newscast is the one who first first popped on my feed talking about it. The closing date announced for the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and Liberty Square Riverboat. They will all close forever July 7th, 2025, right around the corner. Like, that was surprising. I think that's a mistake to close that fast. We've known that there was a closure coming.
Yeah.
But I think they should have given people more of a heads up. We do also have, it is not mentioned here, confirmation that starting also the 7th, I believe it is, or just after the 7th, the Disneyland, the Magic Kingdom Railroad, which was closed for 6 years for Tron, will be redirected to just do a back and forth between the Main Street Station and Dumbo Station. That's a really weird just quarter route.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because remind me if I'm wrong. Before you get to Thunder, between Thunder and Splash is their station, correct?
I don't know. It's not our park.
It is not our park. We're touching in grounds that we're not as familiar with. But the other side of what came out today, this is over at Disney Parks blog, is where we're going to jump into for the rest of these articles, is the Piston Peak National Park builds on the story of Frontierland. So this is our first look of the art. So welcome to Piston Peak. This also gets us a better layout of where the land is. This, of course, is very creative and not technical.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. But so now we can see, here's Frontierland, because this would be Country Bear here. Can you see my cursor?
I do not see your cursor.
There it goes. There. I don't know why it didn't show up. So here's Country Bear.
Yes.
Here's Splash, obviously, or Tiana's now, and Big Thunder.
Yep.
This is the Riverboat House that's just outside of Haunted.
Yeah.
which would put this entrance going in the side of Haunted.
Yes.
How?
I would assume without the rivers, they're going to fill it up with dirt. And that's how.
Because I'm pulling up real fast, and I should have had this up before. That is my bad. The map of Magic Kingdom. I mean, I guess there is more room there than I'm thinking, because the river is wide.
Yeah.
There it is. I just also think it's kind of weird. This is a low quality picture, but it's good enough.
Yep.
I also think it's weird though, putting like the main entrance like here,
Yeah.
because we're gonna jump back to that other picture. Because that, so here for our reference, here's the riverboats. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so riverboat is here, so it's like right here.
Yeah.
That's a weird placement because that's legitimately in Liberty Square.
Yes.
The entrance to the attraction for Frontierland is in Liberty Square.
Well, are they keeping part of the river over by Tiana's and Big Thunder on the
So-
other photo?
So it looks like
Looks like it.
we're keeping right there behind the riverboat. We're keeping kind of a river-esque.
Yeah.
They're adding now this new waterfall coming from the melting snow, and it almost looks like they're going to tie back into the water from Tiana's to kind of make it feel like this whole land is connected.
Yeah.
It's just a weird placement. Like if this straightforward, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the concept art of the land looks good if we get something that actually resembles this.
Well, this isn't concept art, but yes.
Well, yes, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The creative map. If the entire land was picked up and turned 180.
I see what you're saying.
I
I
mean-
think they're more so trying to define where the actual border of Frontierland and Liberty Square is, though.
But it doesn't, because the riverboat's in Liberty Square,
That's part of Liberty Square. You're right. I don't know then.
which means the cutoff for Liberty Square is here. This is Frontierland,
Yep.
unless, and this maybe we haven't read the article. We haven't read the article, unless we are doing kind of what California just did, and this is becoming Bayou Country, and this is becoming Frontierland, which would be really weird. It would be really weird. That's all I can say to that. So let's go down to it. Cars from around the country are fueling up to be the wildest racer in the wilderness. Ha ha ha. I'm sorry. That is very punny, and that is not funny. Of course, we know the fans are curious to see how the exciting new backdrop for the big rally race will fit. That's one word for it. Westward Ho crossing into new frontiers of Magic Kingdom. Since the early days of Magic Kingdom, adventurous guests have traveled across the space and time as they pass from Liberty Square to Frontierland. Starting with architectural influences from upstate New York and colonial America in Liberty Square, before traveling to a very fun concert in the North Woods, a stop by New Orleans at Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and ending in the Amazon bluffs of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Arizona.
Sorry, what did I say?
Amazon.
Oh, yeah, that would not be the same. At the heart of all these stories are heroic characters with a belief in themselves that helped forge a path to their dreams. To continue this journey in the great American storytelling, Piston Peak National Park will be a part of the larger expansion. Imagine awe-inspiring wildernesses filled with towering trees, snow-capped mountains, breathtaking waterfalls, roaring rivers, and impressive geysers. While fictional Piston Peak is inspired by the Rocky Mountain area and the history and its iconic sites of American frontier and its national parks. Inside Piston Peaks, guests will be able to see and explore the visitor lodge, Ranger HQ, trails, and more, all set within the Disney Pixar Cars universe to make sure these buildings fit naturally within the surrounding majestic landscapes. Imagineers are using a style of architecture called architecture. Sorry, I didn't finish the word because I sighed too hard. Why is this article just puns?
Architecture, George.
Which was developed by the National Park Service to create structures that harmonize with natural environments.
Ask Jamie about that.
Straightforward. This is just they went to a national park and they copied the designs. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing special about this. Let me just be clear about that. From the outside, trees will provide a natural barrier between the off-road rally and other parts of Frontierland and Liberty Square. Rugged mountains with dynamic peaks will be nestled along calming waterways across from Grizzly Hall, and soaring geysers from the famed Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will stretch into the trails. Cruising just around the bend as work revs up. That's the announcement of the closures. We already went over that. And then that's just talking about the Starlight Parade. Hello, computer. Thank you. So, legitimately, it does not address anything.
Nope.
What is your thoughts on this art? Let me go there.
I mean, I assume that this is going to be our track layout.
I think so. I think that's what this.
The lighter brown.
Yeah, and if that's the case,
Most
it's
of it.
pretty lengthy.
Pretty big
track. Again, it's still the slot car track, so we know that track is wide and takes a lot of space. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't, being that there's not a lot of space here, it would need to be more flat out in front of it itself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but
I mean, that's all there is to say about it, in my opinion.
do you think it looks good? Like, again, this is still just a promotional.
I think they're trying to fit too many biomes into one attraction in one space.
I agree with that.
Because it's out in the open. If this was in like a show building, I wouldn't mind. But because it's going to be out in the open and you're going to be able to see it anywhere from Frontierland, I think that's an issue.
I also think, since now we are trying to fully incorporate it in the land with everything else around it, we're trying to do too much with Frontierland.
Yeah. Unless that mountain is like insanely tall.
You're talking the snow-capped one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that would also cause an eyesore right there next to Haunted.
Uh-huh.
So either way, it's still an eyesore.
Yep.
It also really... So, hold on. I'm going to give it credit where credit's due. One of my biggest gripes about where Big Thunder is in their park is there's only one way to get to it, and that's to go all the way around the river, which is a big river over there. So, credit where credit's due. It looks like we are connecting from Haunted Mansion, like I've requested, over to it. That's going to make parade routes, traffic, and such a lot better.
Yep.
However, any of these show buildings over here, nobody's going to go to.
Yep.
Unless they're coming from where Adventureland.
Yep.
If you come through the castle and you come by Haunted, you're going straight along its backside to go straight to Thunder.
Yep.
Which means Country Bear Jamboree is losing a ton of audience. Because at least that's a cold spot to sit along the route. I don't get at all why, if we're doing this remodel, which again, I'm still not on board with, why is there not a connection from these buildings here to these buildings here? if I look at it from an outsider look, this is two separate lands.
Yeah,
These
I see what
do
you're
not
saying.
associate together.
I think it's more so they're trying to go for the effect that Radiator Springs has in California, where along the San Francisco walkway, you get all that kinetic movement of the cars going through the ride on that walkway, and I think that's what they're trying to achieve there.
And I think you're right. And that's also assuming that we're going to be able to see the track along the walkway.
Assuming, yeah.
There's a lot of assumptions in this discussion. I think you're right. That's probably what they're hoping for. But I think that's going to hurt it overall in the long spot. On top of that, I can already see a bunch of guests, especially if they're coming from this side over here, asking how they get into the new ride.
Yeah.
Like, where in the world is it? Because again, you're setting up a land or a sub part of the land that's entrance to it is legitimately trees. It is facing the back. There is nothing over there at the moment. In the future, there will be, villains and such back here. So yeah, it makes sense. It's going to build it open. But that means whatever land you put here in the middle has to be open on all sides.
Yeah.
You have to have a way into it. Instead, you're going, hey, I'm sorry, you just came from Pirates. You've got to hike legitimately the entire rivers of America to come to the backside of the rivers of America to get to the new ride. Sorry if that makes your day miserable. It's only Florida. You're only walking on, the surface of the sun in humid climate. I think that's my biggest gripe about this. Again, I still don't like the idea of doing this, but I think if the land was picked up and rotated 180 degrees and dropped back down, I think functionally it would make more sense.
Yeah.
If not, there needs to be some connection for these guests here to get to here without going all the way out of their way and around.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have basic tourists show up, like your grandparents, and go, I don't know how to get there, which is valid.
Yeah.
Am I being too critical?
I don't think so.
Your overall thoughts with our new update, do you think it's still going as a good idea?
No.
Okay. I would agree. I think if they were going to do this and they wanted to do this, I don't think Cars fits here. Cars is too Fantasyland. Cars has its own entity in its own land is fine. So Cars Land in California Adventure, fantastic. They're trying to do Cars Land here, but it's not going to work. It's not going to have the same appeal.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to spend the money ever again to build that mountain range. That thing was stupid expensive, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think if we had done a new attraction, be it an IP we have like Country Bears, or something not even necessarily based on a IP like Big Thunder Mountain, and again did something more centralized that you would have access on both sides, I think that would be better. It makes me concerned how Villain's going to fit in there, and if that's going to cap off this corner, because then that's really going to be a really confusing corner. Because you're going to have Fantasyland on the outside of Haunted, which I think Haunted's technically part of Liberty Square.
Yeah.
And so then it's going to be Fantasyland, Liberty, Fantasyland, which is really weird. And now this is just odd. Last minute remarks. I'll give them over to you.
I got nothing.
You got no final remarks, no final comments.
Nope.
Alrighty. Well, if you made it this part of the video, I can properly speak apparently, be sure to like, subscribe. Be sure to, if you're watching this day it goes live, because members are not getting this one early. Well, they'll get it tonight. So I guess they are getting it, but not really that early. If you're watching the day it goes live, be sure to jump on, hang out with us at, again, about 9:30-ish, where we're going to be unboxing the Switch 2, 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. We need to clarify that. Then be sure to join us tomorrow, where we're going to be stress testing the Switch 2. Comment down below your thoughts on Piston Peak. I'm actually curious. I will go through, read them. Justin's going to go through and read them. I'm giving him homework.
Oh yeah.
And one or both of us will comment on it and we'll share our thoughts. Maybe it'll be brought up in Tuesday Talk next week, which you should join on because that's a lot of fun where we talk about anything related to pop culture. But until then, see you later.
Bye.